G'day Australia. Hello world. I'm Kyle. Thanks for joining me on this fantastic expedition. Going to places where very few have ever gone. Not with the great understanding that we own today. Born out from the great learning that was the sacred Bambara Forest, Sydney, Australia. Where there in 2014 we were able to unfold that last unknown Egyptian text, Proto-Egypt ideogram text circa 2566 BC, the great gift of the sacred Bambara, a great sharing once of our sovereign original peoples of Australia and those that left from our lands thousands of years ago. Following their trail from what we learned there at Bambara to here in this place, the land of Chem, Egypt. Here, reconnecting not just our past on stories, but reuniting our two lands once again. I'm ready to leave here now. I'll be back. An important meeting today with the sovereign custodians of this place. Talking to them from my place outside of my place upon the sovereign United Tribes of Australia, the Mirrabooka. My place amongst those elders and seniors there to seek out and find the lost passed on stories and reconnect them back into the land and culture. So today we meet those from the sovereign tribal United Tribes of Australia, talking direct to the sovereign tribes here, Giza, Egypt. So thanks for joining me. I'm really appreciating that you might do that, you know. And I'm having a lot of fun. I hope you are. And we've got 2 weeks of this, and we're going to push the limits. We're going to go to places that you've never seen before, and unfold what it is that they really mean, you know. So look forward to seeing you all along the journey, and thanks again for joining me. It's been really good, eh? And I'll get the hell out of here, eh, before I get caught. And see you later on. Look at this. First minutes walking upon the Giza plateau, and I spy there an attestant to Khufu. This should be interesting read. Starts on the left. Khufu. Upon the horizon, says underneath. Just to the right, on the sacred waters, this great lord there. On the sacred lakes, that place, her name of this mistress been justified amongst the tenants. The doors open by the name of Shu. This text looks very familiar. The doors open by the name of Shu. Seen that before, and these are just the first minutes upon the Giza plateau. The door opens by the name of Shu, taking us back to the sacred Bambara, Australia. 'Tis the door, the name that opens the door, said Shu. Same text. Same text as upon the walls of the Bambara. Told there also of Khufu. That's her cartouche there directly underneath. Saying exactly the same thing. Khufu entered by the name of Shu, opening the doors. Two texts. One in faraway Egypt, one in far across the sea, Australia, matching a same, telling of Khufu, her place there. Who it is has the power to open the door. Shu. And Shu again. Giza. My earlier learnings had indicated there was very little of Khufu to be found there in Giza. My first indications walking on site, the first thing I read was Khufu. A first hint that something was seriously wrong. No end to it. Look at this. Thousands of tourists walking around here, treading on things. And look at that. A beautiful potsherds. Really primitive too, look at it. Yeah, before the days of the turning wheel. Fantastic. Oh, sorry, I'm not even looking at it. Red clay. How many times have you walked on? Not out here in the open.
Giza.
No reason I can't. Stunning. All about people tread on the dusty artefacts to get to the shiny ones, not realising under their feet still lay incredible sights. Imagination boggles. Artefacts lying all about, unnoticed. Not shiny, not golden enough for those. People blind. And whilst the veil still takes hold. Modern footprints. An indicator of how soft this material can get, even here in our modern time. A clue. Not unlike an Egyptian wise one of old.
Hi.
Hey!
Hi.
Using the shem rope to work out the angle, you know. And well, I can indicate that to be probably 42 mil lean over the length of my rope. So we'll work it out from there. My shem rope to be proud today. Giza. G'day. So here we are, the most sacred place to sovereign Egyptians. Look at some of the most oldest of images and text here on the walls. It's not just the text and the images, it's important, it's the colours. Looking here to the red, the yellow, and black. Know the story. Taking over the colours to know the story itself. The red, the yellow, the black. Don't forget. Once again, coming through the master bars. These ones in the north. Oh, look at that. Beautiful text. Come on. Let's read this. Oh my God, it's everywhere. Look at that. Wow, starting from the top. That's in columns reading down. His title there, his job, Inspector for the Royal. In this place, a name appears after the stem for royal. Ka, often said Kaaba. How can we know Kaaba? I mentioned just hundreds of metres away, Masterbar 7130, where there Kaaba, spelt the same way, is mentioned upon the walls, son of Khufu. In its total now, it's telling us of the title and name and a description of the fellow. Inspector for the Royal, Kaaba. Of this place. Kaaba. Most beautiful is him. Ka-Mnifra. Breaking it up, telling us that she's a vizier, beautiful girl vizier for the Ka of the ruler. Surprisingly, this high priest's tomb is a lady's tomb. Vizier, most beautiful girl. A little more on the titles. The owl and the I have rather vizier for the great mistress, the half bread loaf upturned there. Vizier for the great mistress. Beautiful, said in a perfume bottle, this great servant of the natur in the axe. For the great one, seen there. Beautiful in years, must have lived a good age. Watched over by a Horus in heaven are the remains the name. An important part to this person's ceremony would be that their remains, or their names of their remains, would eventually reach the tree of life, where they would be placed. Placed upon the tree of life is their name, allows a door next to open. This one justified, interned up high, alongside the original abode of Natur. Among the tenants, Sabok guards over the roof of Ahatep. In the great house of light, Ahatep, Refis in the south. Wow, blessings, brother. Well, more text on the side. Oh, look at that. Oh, the great chief on the island, him given you a life. In that little box there. Beloved of Ra, the great Lord on the river of life with Re, the great Lord. Side here, for him the door opens, making, upon the tree. See the crucifix type thing? It was never a crucifix, of course, in the old days. But again, the jug, making, and the sign for the tree, making for the tree. Taking us back to what we read earlier, where it was his remains, the names of his remains will be remembered, placed upon the tree of life. One text reflecting the other. For the great God, the door opens, making for the tree of life upon the sacred borders, the great Lord. Fascinating what we learned, wasn't it? Finding a vizier, a beautiful woman, a caste servant of a royal in Kaaba. Kaaba, the most beautiful, him. Fascinating. On a journey on the river of life. Stunning. Fortunate was I. My arrival, landing on a holiday long weekend there in Giza. The workers all gone home. These tombs only been removed from the sand for this last 3 weeks. I was the first one, the first serious researcher to see. All you sharing, listening with me now, are among the first in the world to ever read these texts. Proto-Egypt text, or ideogram text, spiritual text, still not understood there in Egypt today, still laying beyond the grasp of modern Egyptology. The Sahara Desert stretching out in the distance. An endless sea of sand stretches for thousands of kilometres. Like an ocean, a sea of sand. A dark contrast is the metropolis. 25 million people living about, bordering on the edge of the greatest work of mankind, under the shadow of the Great Pyramids. Walking the northwest line on the Giza Plateau, right on the line. A line so important to old Egypt, the sacred line of Sechet. And look at that. A boat pit, perhaps? Whatever it was important to them. Smack on the northwest line that runs from the Great Pyramid in the distance. Works its way northwest, southeast if you look backwards. Looking down the line of the Great Pyramids, each southeast corner. Touching each, a line stretching from one to the other, the northwest line. observation in Giza can be difficult at times, surrounded by the usual crowd. Habibi, brother. No, I won't. No, it's okay. I do enough. Okay. Only for those in the know is a most sacred place. The southeast corner of the Great Pyramids. The line that's just set. The line of Shusett, lining up with the Great Khufu Pyramid. In the distance, Kora. Its real story lost in the sands of time. Coming up in the distance, the Great Pyramid of Makori, my old friend, Makori Tempus Djetfor, the greatest ruler of 4th dynasty, the greatest ruler of Egypt's reigns, the highest high priest of high priest, the high priest of Thoth, vizier, foreman for the works of Khufu, Djedefre, Khafre, before finally becoming king himself. A mystery to most, an old man coming to the throne. Did Khafre not have a boy? Future will tell. Coming up from the Sahara, the Makori Causeway comes up out of the sand to the great Makori Temple at the face of the huge Makori Pyramid. It was there, in the Makori Temple, the triad statues of Makori were first found. Makori Tempus Djetfor, the highest high priest of Thoth. It was 10 years after the finding of the triad statues. When the triad statues are found, 10 years after, Champollion, aided by Petrie, translated the dream stela on the Sphinx below in the plateau. And there, in their great search for Moses, made the greatest mistake in all Egypt's history, attesting everything built by he, Tempus Djetfor Makori. Instead of Tempus, all his works were robbed. All Egypt was robbed, not just of its gold, but its real history, attesting everything to Tutmosis, a ruler that wouldn't live for another 1,200 years in their search for Moses, and a place deeper in antiquity for their Vatican ideals. Egypt was sorely robbed. 2019. Tempus steps back out from the dark and claims his Egypt for his own, for his sovereign peoples, his land. Djetfor Makori Tempus returns. King Makori. As Djetfor, he would be the vizier for all things for the reign of Khufu. then Djedefre, then Khafre, before taking the throne himself, 255-35 BC, roundabouts, the most influential man on earth. Unfolding from right there between the paws of the Sphinx, the true story of Djedefre Temphus Menkaure. As Temphus, he was highest high priest of Thoth, giving his Thothmes name. Why wouldn't he appear there between the paws of the Sphinx, already named in his Maori name as a builder there in Giza? Only thing was, the European version of history, preferring only their biblical Moses, in their search finding him, attesting all the works of Temphus to Tutmosis, who wouldn't live another 1,200 years. The Maori temple, where it was his triad statues were found. The southeast corner of his pyramid. And in the distance, his own personal pyramid, where there, in a chapel, 1840, a body was removed, a sarcophagus, the body of Djedefre taken away, eventually bought by the scientists of medicine for autopsies that would last for the next 200 years. His sarcophagus later sent on a ship and sold to the Americas. They never got their prize as the ship went under. Learning of the wreck that took down with it the sarcophagus of Maori. Reading the insurance records, finding there the holds of the ship were left open. Knowing too, the timber backboard of Maori was there alongside his sarcophagus, knowing it might float. Retracing the ship's course on that fateful night, coming out from the Mediterranean, wrecked near the Canary Islands, the winds that night blowing north, joining the North Atlantic drift, leaving flotsam on the beaches of Spain. From the backboard's long journey, first stolen from the tomb of Menet there in Giza, 150 years later, showing up as a bizarre museum piece in Spain since the ship went down, taking the sarcophagus with it. And the body of Djedefre disappeared into the laboratories of science. So here we are, Maori Pyramid, on the east side. On the north side we see that there is a finished block, like that, and then what seems like unfinished block. We're standing inside the Maori temple. Safe to assume this was inside the temple, and this finished block, this was outside. So it tells me this is not unfinished work here. It was meant to be. Seen on both the north side and the east side of the Maori temple. The Maori pyramid, standing here in the courtyard of the Maori temple. Huge. Fine Egyptologist there from Norwegian in the distance. Look at this. Guided back to the north side of the Menkaure pyramid, focus changes and things get very exciting, finding there actual relevant text out from the very day. Kaku mentioned there. Kaku, a name we can associate with Djedefre, Menkaure, Thothmes, Kaku, mentioned of as Kaku in the Westcar Papyrus, one of the three sons of Khufu. Kaku, mentioned in relative text of the day upon the great Menkaure pyramid, one more time his name attached. Being a puzzle to Egyptology has these texts here. Kaku, unrealised, is a part of the names of Djed4, Menkaure. Kaku, out from the famous Westcar papyrus, and found there on the north side of the great Menkaure pyramid. Finally, one more. Another mystery solved, long sought after questions, finding answers. My wise, always helpful guide there, Miss Zara Hussein, a sovereign daughter of Isis herself. Zara Hussein, authorised guide and brilliant student of Egyptology there upon the Giza plateau, pointing out the most sacred things that she knew only I might appreciate. The famed elusive red stone, the foundation, capstone. Every great build has one, a start and an end, told of in stories far and wide. The red cornerstone in the building of the house of God. A story shared to all our world's Bibles. They built for her there in the north. Of all gathered there that day, only one seems to notice, pointing down the line of Shesset, all southeast corners of the building set to that great ceremony, the drawing of the cord of Shesset. All else about me seeming blind to the basic principles and values that are the town plan of Giza. All else just walking past the important corner as if it doesn't exist at all. Blind. Perhaps. Baby. There's always one. King's Pyramids, alongside the Menkaure Pyramid. And where it was, his body in 1878 was first stolen away. Medical records today, not aware to whom it is they have for. Djed4, Menkaure Tamphus, ruler of Egypt, 4th dynasty, entered into the laboratories of science, today more famous for the most autopsied body on earth, listed as an unknown there today. Egypt remains robbed. Seeing an interesting set of text, realising a burial been long neglected, forgot. Seeing too, the accompanying Egyptologist, archaeologist, notice, walking the other way. Did that thing I do best. Down the hole I went. In amongst the scorpions, the snakes, in the dark. Wondered what had come up next. A tomb, a chamber.
G'day, mate.
Backing out,
Camel police around.
finding myself joined by an inquisitive American who'd seen the man in the gentleman's hat disappear through the gate.
Yeah, the iPad. No. I have a flashlight.
Do you? Okay, toss it in. I'll get myself sorted. Pretty big chamber. Yes, it's a good sized chamber. So we find places in Australia just like this, exactly the same configuration. Now this is discovery, eh? This is the real way. Oh, look at that, look at that. Statues at the end, look. All away. Oh my God.
Oh, yeah.
Wow. Look at that. So look down there, there's a chamber. So there would have been burial down there. Wow. What's behind us? It's stunning down there, isn't it? Look at that. Just watch out for that left corner. That could be a deep chamber here. Amazing.
Yeah. Nothing on there. Just just on the end.
Yeah,
Wow, that's amazing.
it is good feet.
The feet are still very clear.
They are, aren't they? Yeah.
You can go over here and try to clear away some of the dirt.
Like that. Come down again.
Thing without the dirt holes anyways.
How's the two of them? We malanda bulla. What's their language? I guess we're looking at a male and female.
I believe, yeah, this would be the female.
Yeah. It seems to be just a standard, cheaper limestone in the area. But whoever they were certainly important to have that much effort put in them. Yeah, so we found chambers like this in Australia. And somebody's been digging down there. No doubt. Everybody owns a shovel around here, eh?
Yeah.
They're shopping for it. Yeah, almost like it would have been a door, wouldn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah. So a rebate for a
hinge
door.
or something.
Yeah, well, to seal this thing off, I suppose. But, yeah, grave robbers, it's amazing their potential, how they can... A bit of text there. See the pyramid?
Right there?
Yeah. Just a little bit. Oh, there's another one. Right next to it. Oh, there's one. Just see it in the screen. It's amazing what the screen brings out. One. Likely unnoticed by all. The very scene there, looking through the gap in the door of the Great Pyramids on the Giza Plateau, played out there upon the door's head of wall. Enlightened underground. It was time to join the light again, as David Reed and I, in accompaniment, set out to observe from old Egypt's northwest line. Pushing the boundaries a bit, as you do. This will be interesting. Okay, 14th of November 2019. Giza Plateau, looking for where we are. North, magnetic north, south, marking northwest, southeast. Looking up, there's the fence. Right behind there is the back end of the Sphinx. In the distance is the house of Annetson, the house he built for her. And so here we are. Compass measurement confirmed. North, northwest. Bang on the northwest line. Line up with the house of Annetson and the back of the Sphinx. There's the Sphinx. Right there. There's the line. Standing on the northwest line. Come on. Great goal of the Boonegaroo expedition into Giza and Egypt. Come a long way. Was to observe from the northwest line. A sacred line that we'd first uncovered existed way back in Australia upon the sacred Bambara. These rocks aren't an ancient traditional concept that it seems all our shared ancestors used also. They're not placing all their sacred buildings upon the northwest line. The line of Chesed, called here. Come on, Tempest. To observe from the northwest line this far, please. Meant to observe from on the ground, above the ground, under the ground, leaving not one stone unturned. This was no expedition making conclusions through an air-conditioned bus window. This was boots on the ground. On this day, there'll be more holes to explore, more furrows, dark corners and crevices. That old saying of curiosity nearly killed the cat. never been
On an
more true
11th
than
month.
this day. Finding myself 12 metres deep down a vertical shaft, unable to climb back out. Only one escape meant going down deeper and then deeper until after the batteries run out.
I don't know what to do.
Climbing through the dark
I
in
really don't know
shafts I
what
knew
to do.
had no end. Until eventually escaping back out into the light.
Fairway underground here.